Okay, we're at BibleStudyManuals.net, K61, and then we went all the way to the bottom in looking to see if the Genesis account actually fits best what we observe today in the world, in the earth. Let's go to the bottom, go to this site here, and then Control End, hit the bottom. We finished with Professor Stansfield's comment about what fits best, apparently, are the creationists' point of view. Now, the issue is, let's interpret Genesis 1 account and 2 account accurately to find out what that should be, not what people's opinions are about what it should say. Lots of different opinions. Language, context, and logic will determine that. So we click on More, and we went to the Genesis 1, 11 to 13 account. We're looking at Genesis 1, 11 to 13. The time span for the creation of vegetation on the earth was literally a 24-hour day in which fully mature plant life appeared. And we ended up at this spot here. Furthermore, God did not say, let the seed produce seeds, which will grow into plants. Instead, he said, let the land sprout vegetation, plants yielding seed, and fruit trees already bearing fruit with seed in them. Adam was created as a full-grown man. Therefore, the trees were created as full-grown trees, and the whole universe was made as a functioning entity, complete and fully developed right from the beginning, even with light arriving from distant stars. That's verses 14 to 16. The apparent age that might be calculated in terms of present processes is irrelevant and would undoubtedly be vastly different from the true age as revealed by the Creator. We don't need to have evolution evolve into humanity in billions of years and then have that humanity grow up to produce other humanity. It's already there. Intelligent designer. Verse 11 occurs in Genesis 1:11, the first mention of both seed and kind. Implanted in each created organism was a seed programmed to enable the continuing replication of that type of organism. The modern understanding of the extreme complexity of the so-called DNA molecule and the genetic code contained in it has reinforced the biblical teaching of the stability of kinds, as opposed to the evolution of one kind into another. Each type of organism has its own unique structure of the DNA and can only specify the reproduction of that same kind. We've never evidenced anything other than that. There is a tremendous amount of variational potential within each kind. That's microevolution. It's changed. One kind can change features of itself, but it never changes into another kind, facilitating the generation of distinct individuals and even of many varieties within the kind, but nevertheless precluding the evolution of new kinds. A great deal of horizontal within-species variation is easily possible. No one argues that on either side, but no vertical species-to-species changes have been observed. It is significant that the phrase after his kind occurs 10 times in the first chapter of Genesis. Each organism was to reproduce after its own kind, not after some other kind. The evolutionary dogma that all living kinds are interrelated by common ancestry and descent is refuted by these biblical statements, as well as by all established scientific observations made to date. We look at the biblical account in the letters, the New Testament we call that. 1 Corinthians 15:38 to 39 indicates that there are different kinds of living beings which are not related to one another, especially via some evolutionary process. So the Bible is very consistent about this. So when you read it properly, you don't find any contradictions as you do in the evolutionary science, which isn't science, it's a model, it's a guess, it's a belief system. And you look for support, but you have to look accurately for support and not try to editorialize what you're looking at, like with radiometric dating, you pick the age that best fits your belief system. And 1 Corinthians 15:38-39, but God gives it a seed which is sown a body as he has determined, and to each kind of seed he gives it its own body, i.e. after its own kind. All flesh is not the same. Men have one kind of flesh, animals have another, birds another, and fish another. That's in the New Testament. So people wrote that thousands of years later than when Moses wrote Genesis 1. Henry Morris, in his book, it should also be mentioned that the formation of plants, even in such complex forms as fruit trees, occurred before the creation of any form of animal life. This, of course, is quite logical, but it does flatly contradict the accepted evolutionary system, which has marine animals, both invertebrates and vertebrates, evolving hundreds of millions of years before the evolution of a fruit tree and other higher plants. Furthermore, many plants require pollination by insects, but insects were not made until the sixth day of creation, which fact argues against the possibility that the days of creation could have been long ages. The idea of theistic evolution is counter to the biblical record of creation in practically every passage. Language, context, and logic, when you read anything, don't read into it, read from it. And we look at Genesis 1:14-19. Then God said, let there be lights in the firmament, the expanse of the heavens, to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs and seasons, and for days and years. See? Days and years, 24-hour day. We're not looking at millions of years. And let them be for lights in the firmament, expanse of the heavens, to give light on the earth. And it was so. And God made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night. And he made the stars also. God then set them in the firmament, in the expanse of the heavens, to give light on the earth, and to rule over the day and over the night, and to divide the light from the darkness. And God saw that it was good. So the evening and the morning were the fourth day. You have an evening and a morning, it's a literal 24-hour day, not 200 million years. So, God creates the light emanating heavenly bodies. On the first day, God created light. Then on the fourth day, he created light emanating bodies. Let there be lights. Lights, notice lights plural, literally, in the Hebrew, meor, or light givers. This is different from Genesis 1:3, which states, let there be light, or singular, let there exist a whole spectrum of visible and invisible light waves which emanate out through God's newly created heavens and earth, but not from any particular created source of light givers. The light givers came the fourth day. So light was created first, and then God created light givers. Dr. Ball says, the fourth day witnessed the establishment of the sun and moon in their functions with respect to the light. Since the sun now provides all the energy received by the earth for its geological processes, this event also has profound geological implications. Undoubtedly, there were innumerable other creative and developmental processes taking place during the 6 days, as the entire earth was being fitted as a wonderfully harmonious dominion for man to subdue. Genesis 1:28. And Henry Morris says in his book, on the first day he had said, let there be light. The or, Hebrew or. On the fourth day he said, let there be lights, plural, or light givers, Hebrew meor. Intrinsic light first, then generators of light later, is both the logical and the biblical order. The purpose of the light and light givers was to divide light from darkness. The chief purpose of both the light and the first 3 days and light givers of all later days was to divide the light from the darkness, and this can only mean that the two regimes were essentially identical. The duration of the days and nights was the same in each case, and the directions of light emanation on the earth from space must have been in the same in each case. In other words, light rays were impinging on the earth as it rotated on its axis during the first 3 days of essentially the same intensities and directions as those which would later emanate from the heavenly bodies to be placed on the fourth day. So, from the first day, light arrived without coming from the sun, moon, and stars, which were not created yet. Later, the light emanating bodies were created to mark the seasons, days, and years. Light was coming unto the earth during the day, but not from the sun, and during the night, not from the moon and stars, for they had not yet been created. The light came from the Creator, God. If such a concept sounds strange, let it be remembered that it is as easy for God to create waves of light energy as to create generators to produce such waves. There was no need for such generators except to serve the additional function after man's creation of marking signs and seasons, days and years, an educational thing that God put in the universe for man to learn from. This phenomena will again occur in the eternity future. It's exciting to see this. Isaiah 60, 19-20. No longer will you have the sun for light by day, nor for brightness will the moon give you light. But you will have the Lord for an everlasting light, and your God for your glory. Your sun will set no more, neither will your moon wane, for you will have the Lord for an everlasting light, and the days of your mourning will be finished. You don't have to worship the sun anymore if you don't believe in God. You've got God right there providing the light. The universe was created fully grown. It did not evolve. As noted earlier, the universe was created full grown from the beginning. God did not require millions of years to develop into its intended usable form. The purpose of the heavenly bodies was to give light upon the earth. So this is what they did, right from the beginning. Some have objected to this concept on the basis of evolutionary changes supposedly taking place in the stars. The fact is, however, no one has ever observed such changes taking place. As long as men have been observing the stars, they have always looked as they do now, allowing, of course, for the changes in orientation due to the Earth's rotation, orbital revolution, and axial wobble. So you see things on the basis of the Earth's changes, not on anything changing out there in the universe with stars and moons and so on. The existence of novas and supernovas and theories of stellar and galactic evolution do not refute the concept of the recent creation of a mature universe. Morris goes on to say, the only possible exception of any consequence to this statement might be the novas or supernovas that are occasionally observed in the heavens when the stars apparently heat up or explode. Some of these have been observed in galaxies supposedly hundreds of thousands of light years from the Earth. The argument is, therefore, that the stellar event producing the nova or supernova must have taken place the corresponding number of hundreds of thousands of years ago. All right? This may constitute a minor problem, but there are several possible answers that are even more plausible. The tremendous stellar distances commonly cited are obtained only on the basis of a number of very esoteric and questionable assumptions. Geometric methods for measuring such astronomical distances can reach only to about 330 light years. So any greater distances are uncertain, to say the least. Furthermore, there is no assurance of the uniformity of the speed of light at such tremendous distances. There exist respectable models of relativity and space curvature, for example, which yield light motions such that light would reach the Earth even from infinite distances in only a few years. In any case, our uncertainty as to the exact reconciliation of these distant novas with a revised recent creation of the universe cannot offset the clear biblical testimony of such recent creation. On the other hand, there is a study that I've done that if the Earth is in the center of the universe, then because of the huge gravitational effect on light waves, the light can arrive from distant parts of the universe because we're in the center, and that's a possibility. Not the Milky Way, but the center of the universe, that light can arrive very quickly, and we can see things that happen immediately. Therefore, when the light was created, the light may have traveled billions of years or thousands of years or whatever from another part of the universe, but the time that it took to get to the Earth is a matter of hours or minutes. So the Revised and Expanded Answers book by Don Batten, Creation Science Foundation, writes, some stars are millions of light years away. Since a light year is the distance traveled by light in 1 year, does this mean that the universe is very old? Despite all the biblical and scientific evidence for a young universe, this has been a problem a long time. However, any scientific understanding of origins will always have the opportunities for research, problems that